Breaking the News Plus on this Friday night, and it is a big weekend in Minnesota sports. Obviously, the Vikings play on Sunday with the resurrected quarterback, but we are here tonight to talk about your Minnesota Lynx, the most dependable pro sports team in the state of Minnesota. They're heading into their second round playoff matchup on Sunday afternoon at Target Center. To talk about it, Andrew Dukowitz with Zone Coverage Minnesota. Andrew covers the Lynx like no other. And Andrew, our team's getting a lot of rest because they won their first round in a sweep, so they get to watch everybody else sweat it out. And then on Sunday, they play either New York or Phoenix. Who do you want to play?
Yeah, I mean, first I would just say, the Frost have been in existence for 2 years.
That's
and have won
true.
2 championships.
My bad.
So
My bad.
unfortunately, they might have taken the crown from the Lynx, who are only winning it about once every 5 years of the WNBA. But if I had to pick a team to root for tonight, if I'm a Lynx fan, it sounds like Breanna Stewart has a pretty good strained MCL. Strain is just kind of a less severe word for torn. I mean, a strain is a tear when it comes to ligaments. So if you're looking at, would we rather play Alyssa Thomas, who's likely to finish third in MVP voting, or would we rather play a New York team without arguably their best player, who is trying to gut it out through this tear? But that's not going to get better as playoff series go on. So, basketball wise, New York would be the pick. And if you're going from a, Lynx revenge tour narrative, New York sounds pretty good on that revenge tour too.
Do you think our players, you see them every single time they're available? I mean, you're really committed to going to every availability, so you get the tone and tenor of them at all times. Do you think they still have in them a revenge mentality? Do they want to play New York?
I don't know if they necessarily want to play New York. I know they want to win a championship.
Sure.
After the regular season ended, I spoke with a couple players and just asked them, like, have you been able to reflect back on just how historic this season have been? They're the number one offense, the number one defense, number one net rating. They led the league in just about every advanced analytics category. They led the league in 3-point shooting, tied the 34 wins that the Aces set a few years ago for most wins in the WNBA in a season. And every single player I talked to just said it doesn't mean anything. Like, this is a championship or bust season. There's nothing that is going to mean anything if they don't win a championship. Cheryl touches on it, and she's been around a little bit longer than some of the players. So she's more of the mind of, like, we've won 64 games together over the last 2 years. And this is a team that has a really strong bond together. So they'll always have those memories and stuff. But then even she's quick to say, the championship is what they're after. So I think they still have the edge. I know at the end of the season, some Lynx fans were getting a little worried because they finished the season 6-5, some games without Napheesa Collier. But despite going 6-5, they still won the top seed by 4 games, and the Aces win 16 games in a row and are still 5 games behind them. So I think it was more of a product of just how good they were and focused at the beginning of the season that they allowed themselves to just kind of rest going into the playoffs too.
Yeah, it's always interesting in sports. The WNBA doesn't have a long season compared to pro men's sports in terms of basketball, hockey, baseball. I mean, those are just it seems like years long. But with the Lynx being as dominant as they have been out the gate, there's always this adage of but the Aces are peaking at the end, and maybe the Lynx can't be dominant the whole time. I'm a diehard, so I'm saying, well, yeah, they can. But there is that part in the back of your head, that Minnesota doubt, boy, they've given it their all this entire time. Do they still have the gas? Do you feel that they do?
I do. I mean, to emphasize your point, they started the season 28-5, which is a ludicrous pace to start a season. And because they built that lead, they were able to take care of their players. Dejanay Carrington, who's been dealing with a shoulder injury, was able to rest the last 5 games of the season. Napheesa Collier able to rest her ankle a little bit more than if they were in the heat of a playoff match. I mean, it's cliche because people say it all the time that, everyone's hurt at this point of the season.
Right.
But the Lynx are really kind of going into the they're kind of going into the playoffs without a lot of these injuries that other teams have. And I think we saw it against Golden State. You know, the first game, they really kind of blew Golden State out of the water. Golden State's a really good defense, and Minnesota just casually put 44 points up in the paint and scored 102, I think they finished with, or 92, or
I don't
something
know. I was
ending
there,
in a
but I
2.
was out of body, like Nafisa always says. I blacked out.
And then the second game, in front of 18,000 fans in Golden State's first ever home playoff victory, the Lynx just kind of casually make a 14-point fourth quarter comeback and win it at the end. And I was a little out of body too. It sounds like Nafisa Collier was blacked out. It seems like this team really has their eye on the prize of that championship, more so than anything else.
You know, you bring up an interesting point when you talk about Golden State. And for those of you watching, maybe you are as tuned in to the W as Andrew and I, but Golden State sold out. They're the first year their team's been in existence. They're a franchise team. They broke every record for a franchise team for a first year. They had 18,000 people at every single game. Caitlin Clark doesn't play for them. They don't have a big household name. Last night, Indiana had 16,600 people at their game. The momentum, we have been talking about it for 2 years, but it's just with these playoffs, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and Caitlin Clark isn't playing. So it's about the players playing. And behind all of that is the threat that they may not play next year because they don't have a collective bargaining agreement with the WNBA. Now, Andrew, I'm going to say it plain from my opinion. If the WNBA doesn't figure this out and pay the players at some area of which they need to be paid, they are messing up something monumental.
Completely agree. And to your Caitlin Clark point, too, she played 13 games this season. I do think she deserves some credit for bringing in a very large swath of people into the WNBA, into kind of the culture, bringing new fans in. But those fans stuck around because they enjoy the product. They enjoy other players. They enjoy, you get attached to a team. If you watched Minnesota in the playoffs last year, it's really hard to not root for them this year. New York obviously has a lot of really talented, special human beings, as does Las Vegas, Indiana, Golden State. So it is a credit to the league to be able to bring fans in and hold their attention in a world where everybody's attention is 35 seconds long.
Right.
Now, into the CBA, I completely agree with you. I mean, this could be like the hockey strike did to the hockey back in the day, the baseball strike when it kind of obliterated baseball for a good decade. They can't afford to not cash out on all of this attention on the league. I think where the issue comes in is there's so many things that need to be ironed out between, who's going to pay for player housing in season, what percentage of revenue share do the players deserve. I mean, heck, the players didn't get dental until 2019. I mean, the WNBA has just been kind of behind on a lot of this stuff. So now you have players that are represented by their union saying we should have standardized training facilities. Mm-hmm. One team shouldn't have to play in a church gym and the other in Mayo Clinic Square.
Right.
And as those negotiations go out, when you have so many things that need to get resolved, roster size, quality of life, insurances, pensions, revenue sharing, it just turns into this really long, sticky process. So I think if there's hope to this, it's, the owners want a WNBA season next year. They are all making money. Next year is the first year of kind of Disney's new Disney, ESPN, and Amazon's contract starting. That's going to balloon even more money into this league. It kind of behooves even the people in power to get this figured out so that everyone can make money. But I do think it's probably going to be, last second. If not, they're making extension after extension after extension and really coming down to the wire on it, because the players, I think, look around and just say, we deserve better. We truly deserve good facilities, physical therapists, doctors, pensions, all of the things that any other full-time job you would be kind of required to give.
Right, and this is that moment. Last question I have for you is one that it seems very personal to Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeve. It seems personal to the fans, and it doesn't seem personal as much to the individual. I'm talking about Napheesa Collier. Put this team on her back for the first 25 games of the season. Obviously, everybody's awesome, but Napheesa's in this different level, and it's been the season of give her the MVP. And now it's really in question. Does she have the votes to get it? Would you agree with me in that it doesn't seem to be the one thing Napheesa wants? What Napheesa wants is a ring, not this award. But Cheryl wants her to get this award, and so do her teammates.
Well, and the day we're speaking, it's actually about 4 hours after Alana Smith had her Defensive Player of the Year award ceremony. So I believe the W has that up if people want some fun quotes. Cheryl, in her mystical way, was perfectly on point again, especially in light of it being a co-award. But Fee, I think the evidence for her valuing a championship over that award is game 43 against Indiana. She doesn't sit without her saying it's okay for her to sit. I'm sure there was a discussion behind closed doors of, hey, if you sit tonight, your ankle will be X amount better. But if you want to go for the MVP, it's probably going to matter that you play this game. And Fee sat that game. She led the team out of the tunnel and sat out with that kind of scheduled rest ankle day. And all through the season, Fee's been on point of just, it's a championship. I think missing out on that last year really stuck with her in a different way. And Fee is just kind of entering her prime. She's still improving every season with Unrivaled now and kind of their set up with better training facilities, speaking of the CBA, but they kind of are providing the things that every team should be having. I would expect Fee to be back and better even next year. And if she's able to stay a little bit more healthy, I think she's probably winning that MVP then. But it does seem like this year, missing 25% of the season, I think a lot of voters look at that and say, in good conscience, can we award somebody this award who had a historic season? She is deserving of the MVP. But I think there is a point for some voters, too, where they say, we got to reward someone. The best ability is availability, right?
So you think it's going to go to Wilson, not Collier?
I think it'll be close. I think Fee still has a chance to win it. I do think it'll be very close, but it just seemed like as Fee was missing those games with the ankle injury, and as people were starting to do the math of, we've never had an MVP that's played less than 90% of a season, and Fee is at 75%. Is that something that the voters want to reward? Which I'll say, thankfully, I don't have a vote, because I would be even more on my Lynx should sweep the award ceremonies agenda. But I do think it's probably going to go to A'ja Wilson. And, if there's a banner in Target Center and Fee gets a finals MVP, I think she'll be able to live with that.
Yeah, I think she's going to be all set, because she said it from the morning after that loss last year to the Liberty until today. It's the ring. We'll worry about the rest later. Andrew, I appreciate you. We'll see you at the Target Center on Sunday as we take on fill in the blank and go for that ring. That's all for Breaking the News Plus. Andrew, thanks for being there.
Thank you. I'll be there, and I'll be watching tonight's game with everyone else.
Yep. All right, take care. Have a good weekend, everybody. I'll see you back here on Monday night.